The Trump campaign will be filing a lawsuit to the Wisconsin Supreme Court challenging 220,000 absentee ballots, saying that, well, many of them were cast well outside the bounds of the law. Sounds a lot like many of the other lawsuits the Trump campaign has filed, but perhaps this was all a part of the plan. You see, Donald Trump spent $3 million on a recount in 2 districts in Wisconsin. Now, the left and many conservatives mocked Trump after this because the end result of the recount was that Joe Biden gained votes. He was already beating Trump. Trump calls for a recount. Biden gained more votes. I think he gained like 87 or something like that, or maybe like 130. Not that big a deal. But then Trump tweeted out and said, "We didn't call for the recount in order to change the numbers. We were looking for fraud." I actually believe Trump in that capacity. Because what we saw in Georgia already, Trump's calling for signature verification. They're looking for fraud. They've been looking for fraud the whole time. The narrative they've been pushing is fraud. And Giuliani just the other day in Arizona said, there's so much fraud, y'all need to appoint your own electors. It is extremely unlikely, in my opinion, based on surface level news and everything I can see, extremely unlikely is an understatement. Trump, I just don't see how he can actually win in the Electoral College. So is it possible? Yes, it is. OK, I know a lot of people don't like it when I say this. They say, you know, I'm giving up or whatever. I'm not a diehard MAGA flag waving guy. It's not going to happen. I'm looking right now at what's going on, what's being said. And I mentioned this. OK, Trump's path to victory right now is state legislatures choosing to appoint their own electors or disputing the results of the election in their state. Trump needs 3 states. The Keystone State, quite literally, Pennsylvania, is extremely important, but not absolutely necessary. But it was basically his path. Here's what's happening. The PA state legislature has said they will not have enough time to actually pass a joint resolution disputing the election. And thus, it ain't going to happen. Now, they might not need to. So I'll put it this way. In looking at it formally, the way the system's supposed to function, Trump can't pull it off. Pennsylvania is not going to hold a session because they need 5 days, they said. But Trump still could get 3 other states. I think if he got Michigan, Wisconsin, and Arizona, I think that would be enough to put Joe Biden at 269, and then it goes to a contingent election and Trump wins. I think the odds of this are astronomical. When I was talking about the PA state legislature and how they made a move to actually give their votes to Trump, I said only 26 members of the Pennsylvania House supported the move and only 8 senators. There's 203 representatives in Pennsylvania's House, and there's 50 senators in Pennsylvania Senate. They didn't even have a majority of the Republicans supporting this. So I was like, the likelihood that it happens is just not enough time. Now people are saying maybe they can call a special session. I don't know about that. But it might not need to be a formal approach. So look, at a certain point, and I've said this many times too many people are playing the but wait, Trump can still win game. And that's what they were doing with Hillary Clinton. And yes, I get it. It's true. Nobody wants to give up. And I respect that. I don't think Trump should stop fighting. I think he should fight tooth and nail and challenge this because we've got serious election security problems. I think winning isn't so much about, and I've said this before, again, I've said a lot of things before. This battle isn't about Trump getting more votes. It's a battle between the political establishment and the populist insurgent candidate. They are pulling out all the stops. They are playing dirty games. Can Trump win? I'm not convinced. I'm not. There's a million and one ways Trump could probably find a way to stay president. Some of them I would just call like illegal or extra legal. Like there's an infinite number of ways. The issue is, what can Trump really do to actually retain power, to stay in the presidency? At this point, he's doing it. We have this lawsuit. We've got Trump calling, the Trump campaign lawyers, Rudy Giuliani, for instance, calling on other states to appoint their own electors. Here's what I think could possibly happen. On January 6th, that's when Congress counts the votes. Let's say Pennsylvania doesn't hold a session. Let's say the governor and the secretary of state, Democrats, send the Democrat electors for Joe Biden. They cast their votes on December 14th. Everyone says it's over. Trump go home. Trump says no. January 6th is the day that a joint session of Congress is held to count the Electoral College votes. There was already a memorandum published by the House of their intent to file calling the election in dispute. They did not have a majority. They had, like I said, only 26 individuals. But maybe some Republican says the House in Pennsylvania tried calling this election in dispute, and therefore I reject their electors. A lot of things could happen. The system is made up of people, and it's not computer code, right? If someone says you can't stand here, it's trespassing, you can literally walk over it. You choose to do it. It's another person that'll stop you. So we could, you could have all of Congress decide we're not going to count the votes. We're going to do it polka dance instead. It's not going to happen. You know what I mean? But the point is, humans can do what humans want. The system is basically about confidence. If people decide to make a move, then so be it. Now, over on the dark web side of things, I get a lot of these messages from people saying things like, you got to pay attention to what's going on in the dark web, Trump's secret war against the deep state and all this stuff. I'm like, dude, I'm sorry, man. That is just, there's no photos, there's no videos, there's just people posting these crazy theories. And But it would be fun to imagine Trump is buying time because there's a war going on. Michael Flynn's leading the charge. Helicopters, shooting at people and they're like rolling. And they have like the secret USB data disk proving once and for all the election's been stolen. Yeah, too much like an action movie, not enough like real life. Real life is boring. Real life is Donald Trump filing this lawsuit trying to challenge these ballots. Perhaps if these ballots are challenged and they present evidence of fraud, then Wisconsin legislatures might say, okay, we're in dispute. Let me show you. I think I have here the New York Times map. Let's play a game real quick. Can Trump still win? I know the left is going to they get mad about this. Just submit, accept you've been defeated. Joe Biden is president-elect. I've been saying over and over again that it's like 99.9% Joe Biden. I'm just saying that there is a chance that Trump could win. Now, before, like a couple weeks ago, I was saying Trump's chance of winning is greater than, 0. So it was like 1 or 2%, maybe, like a decent chance. I don't know about right now. And there's a lot of things he could do. And it's kind of crazy how the system is set up to prevent, I don't know how to, maybe prevent is the wrong word. The system is set up in a way that allows strange paths to power, and probably a good thing. There's safeguards. Maybe a bad thing. I don't know. Check it out. So Pennsylvania, the PA GOP legislature leaders stiff team Trump. We're gone for the holidays, They're not going to be holding a session. They said they need 3 days to pass a resolution and 5 days for a joint resolution. So it ain't going to happen. All right. Let's say Trump can't flip Pennsylvania. That's 20 electoral votes. What has he got? Well, Georgia, I don't know what Georgia's doing. I don't think, Georgia is... Brian Kemp and Raffensperger, the Republicans, but they're basically feuding with the Trump campaign. I don't see that happening. Michigan, however, was, Trump lost by nearly 150,000 votes. So I can't imagine that Michigan goes in dispute, except for the fact that there was already the conflict with the Wayne County State Canvass Board. The Wayne County Canvass Board and the State Canvass Board. So maybe Michigan, for some reason, goes into dispute. Let's say Trump disputes Michigan, 16. Wisconsin, 10. That means Biden already drops down to 280. And then you have Arizona, 11, putting Joe Biden at 269. No one wins 270. Contingent election is held. Donald Trump can win. Just because I'm saying he can doesn't mean I'm saying he will. I'm letting you know those are the actual statistical numbers. But I feel kind of like Nate Silver in a bit where it's like, Trump can't win. And like it's a less than 1% chance. Vegas has Trump winning the presidency at like 10% and predicted has Trump at like 11 cents a share, down from 13. Like, you can still buy it. I guess people just won't count the man out. But 10%, doesn't that seem crazy? I don't think Trump has a 10% chance to win. That's the odds he's getting over at electionbettingodds.com. I think that's Vegas. To me, that's absolutely insane. You want to call it the deep state? You want to call it whatever you want. I don't see Trump winning. Get mad at me if you want. I'm sorry. That's just my opinion. Maybe I'm wrong. We'll see. Here's what's going on with these ballots. Fox News reports the lawsuit is expected to be filed Tuesday morning and comes after Wisconsin completed its partial recount, which maintained that Joe Biden won the presidential race in the state. The Trump campaign's Wisconsin legal team, led by former Wisconsin Circuit Court Judge Jim Trupis, told Fox News that while the recount in the state did not flip in President Trump's favor, it gave the campaign the unique ability to examine ballots. Exposing exactly how the election processes were abused in Wisconsin holds enormous value for this election beyond a victory for President Trump. But the fact is, our state's electoral votes likely won't change the overall outcome. Troopis told Fox News. Regardless, we're demonstrating that the results of this election unequivocally ought to be questioned. This is why, in my opinion, Trump should not stop fighting. Now, apparently he's getting a good amount of donations. You go to the mainstream media and they'll say Trump raises more than 150 million appealing to false election claims. You pop over to Just the News. Trump raises at least 150 million since election day as supporters back election litigation. Just the News headline is like the real news. The Washington Post, what they're putting out is biased. And that's the way it typically is. But anyway, the accusation from the left is that Trump is just milking money out of his supporters to pay his campaign debts and then walk away from this. And you know what? Maybe. I don't know. I don't know Trump. Maybe that's the case. Maybe Trump supporters don't care. This is the big question people got to ask. Do the donors care? Now, the left will come out and say Trump's stealing money from his supporters, and they'll all facepalm and say, how are Trump supporters so dumb? And Trump supporters are going to be like, I would give Trump $100 to order himself a beer and pizza. If Trump needs my support for whatever, they're going to support him and they're going to be happy to do it, whatever he does with the money. I'm sure there are some people who want to see evidence of fraud. There's apparently one case where a guy donated like millions of dollars to some political action committee and then they never produce anything. So he's suing them, but he's not suing Trump. I think Trump supporters love Trump. And I think they would gladly if Trump came out and said, my friends, I need money to pay my debts. People would donate. They'd be like, you got it, Trump. We're here for you. You were here for us. So I think Trump legitimately wants to fight because Trump legitimately wants to win. I think Trump is going to spend as much money as he can and do everything in his power to try and win because I think he wants to. Now, the left and the media will tell you that Trump never wanted to be president in the first place. It's all a big scam. Oh, yeah. The billionaire who's got his name in gold letters on skyscrapers all over the planet was trying to scam me. Even conservatives have said things like there's like some Republicans, but, kind of never Trumpers that are like, you need to recognize when you're being conned. Dude, they're rich. The Trumps are rich. They'll always be rich. Trump's a billionaire. You can say he's got too much debt. Trump says his buildings are under leveraged. Look, regardless, man, even if Trump has massive debt, he's going to be rich forever. This is what people need to understand. Maybe he won't be a billionaire anymore. I mean, the dude's 74. Is he really going to care now? He could go to Mar-a-Lago. He can play golf and he's good. His net worth is in the billions. People say, but he's broke. That's why he borrowed money for his campaign. He borrowed money for his campaign because you don't spend your own money. I mean, yeah, you don't. Like, there are a lot of rich people, they take out loans to buy property because why are they going to put up all that money when they don't need to? That's the name of the game with a lot of rich people. Collecting liabilities and assets and stacking them up. The more money you have, the more, debt you can take out. It's kind of like how the Fed, the money supply works in this country. So I just don't see it. Anyway, let's keep leaving. Let's keep reading. The legal team also said the suit highlights a lack of transparency and credibility on part of local election officials and their willful disregard of the law on multiple occasions, and added that the state's laws and processes gave it the unique ability to illustrate this abuse with precision. The campaign claims officials on the Wisconsin Election Commission and the city clerks of Milwaukee and Madison willfully disregarded the current statute and made conscious efforts to circumvent Wisconsin election law, resulting in tens of thousands of votes cast well outside the bounds of Wisconsin law. It also asserts the law was violated on several occasions through what it described as altered certification absentee ballot envelopes, a lack of required absentee ballot applications, unlawful claims of indefinite confinement, and voting events called Democracy in the Park. Wisconsin law requires that written absentee ballot request forms must be submitted ahead of the voter casting their absentee ballot. But the Trump campaign claimed that election officials instead accepted ballots without the required absentee applications on file. So how do you vote absentee, getting an absentee ballot, having never requested it? I'm sorry, man. There's just, which came first, chicken and the egg? Okay, you got to request the ballot in order to actually send it in. That makes no sense. And they're counting them. The Wisconsin state legislature has explicitly required an application. A Trump campaign official told Fox News, saying it is mandatory and any ballots without an application or with an incomplete application are not to be counted. The campaign said ballots cast without the initial absentee ballot applications on file must be called into question. I agree. Absolutely. Next, the campaign pointed to Wisconsin law, which requires any ballots that are incorrectly filled out, missing information, or damaged to be returned to the voter to correct and resubmit. But the lawsuit alleges municipal clerks were illegally altering ballot envelopes themselves. In many instances, witness addresses were left off of the envelopes, and clerks, using their own knowledge and searching in unknown databases, filled in the information themselves. A campaign official told Fox News, according to the statute, that this is illegal. Okay. This is why Trump needs to keep pushing this. We have now uncovered violations of the election code, in many different states, evidence of widespread fraud and evidence of widespread irregularity. I am not saying that Trump is correct, that he lost the election due to widespread voter fraud. I do not believe that has been proven. And I think that, people who are jumping the gun and saying that, all this evidence proves it. What we've seen so far is there is voter fraud. I'm sorry. There is voter fraud. There have been several instances where people have admitted to voting twice, and we have the Heritage Foundation's database on voter fraud. What we're learning from this, however, is that there is evidence of widespread voter fraud, notably from Matt Brainerd of the Voter Integrity Project. There are people who have voted twice. Apparently, Steven Crowder did a whole segment on how someone voted for him, I guess. So it does happen. And it's because of Trump's fight we're uncovering this. And thanks to Trump, whether he wins or not, he is helping to clean up the process. I know it sounds funny, right? Because the mainstream media is saying he's undermining the process. What? The process of cheating? The fact that no one cared about our elections before? This is the crazy thing to me. Yeah, nobody did. Think about it. Wisconsin holds an election. They don't follow their own laws. And they go, yeah, whatever, who cares? And that's it. We're supposed to accept that? People have gotten lazy. In Pennsylvania, what they were doing with the observers is psychotic. So you get observers coming, right? They're counting these ballots. They tell the observers, you can be in the building, but you got to be 50 feet away. The observers can't see anything. You're supposed to be looking at the ballot and saying okay, yeah, that one is for Trump. No, that one's for Trump. Instead, they're just staring from far away going, great. And a judge ruled the election code says observers need to be there. It doesn't say how far away they need to be. That judge was basically saying, I know the purpose of the law, but I don't actually care. No sane person passes a law saying an observer should be somewhere in the building, as if they could be sleeping in the corner with a dunce cap on, and that qualifies as meaningful observation of ballots. No, we need way more scrutiny on this stuff. And again, thanks to Trump's lawsuits, all of this is being brought up, and we're going to have, hopefully, the elections become very, strict. They say, quote, if the certificate or envelope is missing a witness address, the ballot cannot be counted until the voter corrects the error, plain and simple. Instead, election officials decided to take the law into their own hands. These ballots were fraudulently completed and counted, and the illegal ballots should not count toward the certification vote totals. The lawsuit also alleges voters were fraudulently allowed by election officials to circumvent voter ID by claiming they were indefinitely confined. The status of indefinite confinement in Wisconsin is intended for voters who are physically ill, infirm, elderly, or disabled, and for those who are unable to vote in person under those terms. The campaign claimed that due to the confusion and misinformation from Democratic election officials amid the COVID pandemic, many voters requested that status even though they definitely were not confined. This allowed voters abusing the status to vote without providing identification as required by law. The campaign said that in March, Democrat election officials falsely told voters they could claim this status because of the pandemic, but said that was later struck down by the Wisconsin Supreme Court. The Trump campaign said that from 2016 to 2020, the number of indefinitely confined voters increased dramatically, nearly 600% in Dane County and about 500% in Milwaukee County. The lawsuit also will claim that clerks did not do their due diligence to remove voters fraudulently claiming that status and made no good faith effort to check publicly available information and remove indefinite confinement permissions from illegitimate voters. The lawsuit alleges that anyone who cast a ballot under the terms of indefinite confinement without meeting that criteria did so fraudulently, and therefore their illegal ballots must not be counted. Meanwhile, the campaign also alleged that the city of Madison created unlawful polling locations at over 200 locations throughout the city's Democracy in the Park voting events, and said the ballots accepted at these events were illegally cast. The campaign claimed the polling locations were held outside the county's approved polling locations and did not follow the state's strict absentee voting requirements. That is it right there. That is how the Democrats cheated this election. I'm going to say it. I know YouTube's going to get mad at me. Cheating is, changing the rules or breaking the rules in a way to favor yourself. They weren't supposed to be, they weren't allowed to be, and it was illegal to do much of what they did. But listen, while people are saying that Dominion and USB cards and like helicopters and stuff, while they're alleging that there's larger conspiracies at play, maybe, I don't know, show me the evidence. Show me the evidence. I'll happily report on it. For now, I can tell you this. The Democrats had been changing the rules the entire time. They had been, mail-in voting, for instance, was being pushed in 2019 in Pennsylvania. The Republicans in Pennsylvania passed Act 77, no excuse mail-in voting, in October 2019, well before COVID. They're holding voting events in the park. They were getting regular people who didn't know or didn't care to come out to events to get them to vote. They were going door to door to get them to vote. That's the name of the game. That's how it was stolen. Now, that's actually illegal, a lot of what they did. And Trump has the opportunity to challenge them, and he should. Maybe he will overturn Wisconsin. Nothing's been overturned just yet. The dominoes are not falling. The doors have not been kicked in, so we shall see. But it seems like, look, man, it's December 1st. The safe harbor provisions are the 8th. Maybe Trump can pull it off. Maybe a revolt happens, but I've been saying it all the way through. Joe Biden presidency. I think that will be the worst thing for this country. And I said it the other day. I say a lot of things again, huh? Joe Biden unites no one. Everybody hates Joe Biden except for the neo-lib corporate Democrat types. Populists, libertarians, moderates, nobody likes Joe Biden. Joe Biden won because the Democrats changed the rules to benefit themselves, because there's widespread impropriety at the very least. Actually, what I should say is widespread irregularities contribute to Joe Biden winning. But I am not saying there's evidence of fraud. I'm trying to be very, very careful. The point is, impropriety and irregularity, what I mean to say is democracy in the park. When they hold these special events, when they're going door to door, when you see allegations of ballot harvesting, there is fraud. I don't know if it's widespread enough to have flipped it, but the Democrats, as I've said, changed all the rules and then used the system for all it's worth. Joe Biden, he will have won because people didn't like Trump and because the Democrats did these massive campaigns. But is anyone going to rally behind him? No. But they will rally behind Trump even in defeat. Joe Biden will not unite anybody. Instead, all of the Trump supporters and the progressives will now all point their fingers at Joe Biden, because now with Trump out of power, why would the progressives be concerned at all? Maybe they'll still complain about Trump rallies or something. But I got to imagine, as we all start ragging on Joe Biden, it's going to align everybody against him. Maybe that will be the true great unifier. We'll see how it plays out. They end the story by saying, in his first interview since, the election, Trump claimed it was election fraud. It was a rigged election. They say Trump also appeared to acknowledge that his legal bid to overturn the election results probably wouldn't reach the U.S. Supreme Court, which has been the goal of his legal team. And that's in Pennsylvania. So I tell you, man, I thought it was a lottery tickets chance that Trump won 2 weeks ago. Now it's astronomical. Maybe. I just don't see it. I'm sorry, man. You can get mad at me if you want. I'll leave it there. Next segment's coming up at 1 p.m. on this channel. Thanks for hanging out, and I will see you all then.